This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, if it's Tuesday, it's Movie Reviews and More, and it's also Giving Tuesday. You should always give those to your favorite charity no matter what's going on. And I think we're going to have communication problems on my end for the first time in a year and a half. Yes, in a year and a half. I haven't had any technical problems whatsoever. I'm blaming it on my film critic, Mike Kaspar, just in case, because the last time he was on, he had bad internet and everything. And it wasn't Mike's fault. He just had two things open. But I've been looking forward to this show because, one, Angela's back. And two, my good friend from Saskatchewan, Canada, Susan Post is on. Now, Susan, I was going to do a long intro, and I'm not going to do that because my internet is crapping out. I don't know what's going on, so I'm not going to take any chances. But she is that person. I love that this woman could do anything. She's good in sales. She's good in marketing. She's good in medical stuff. And she's good at, let's see, hypnotherapist. Susan, I'm doing all this off the top of my head as usual, obviously. But it's one of those things. She's now an international best-selling author, and I really love her book. Tosh, you're going to love her book. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let Susan talk about it. But here's the thing. All the way from Miami, Florida, locally Tosh. Singer, songwriter, dancer, all-around cool chick. From all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, really, Brentwood, Tennessee, the one and only Dapper. And Howard, I have a little surprise for you. Maybe it'll work. We were having a little issue with it. We will see about it. And my fellow film critic, it's always fun to talk about movies because it is in Mardi Gras. It kind of started today, even though it's really started in January 5th, according to my New Orleans friends, and it's still going on. But also, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Now, I don't care about that because I haven't been in a relationship in 9 years. But we are going to talk about romantic movies, huh, Mike? And with that, my other friend just got back. I met her in Tennessee at WIF, Women in Film and Television. And I like Angela. I found her interesting. And if we have something, if we do, we might show that yellow coat of hers that I like, and or those blue sparkly shoes that she has. But with all this stuff going on, Terry's got COVID. Yes, Susan, she's got COVID, and she's not feeling really good. I don't know what happened to Chef Rachel Roberts. She goes, am I invited on? I'm like, yeah, I knew she wasn't going to come on tonight. So here we go. Let's kick off the show. Angela, who are you? Where are you coming from? And where have you been hiding the last month? Because you've been on tour.
Well, I'm right now in Brentwood, Tennessee, not too far from Howard. We moved here about a year ago, but we've been the last few weeks, the last month or so in Palm Springs, California. We were filming the second season of my TV show, Always Here, A Mother's Love. We were able to film 8 episodes. And I'm fond of saying I'm from the Clint Eastwood School of Directing. It's 1-2 takes, we're out. So we were doing 18 pages a day and we got it done. And I've been working on Colliding Worlds, which is the podcast. And we've got a few interviews up on that. And that's been going really well. And we've just submitted to several film competitions for scripts. Just trying to get the buzz out there. And to let people know that women can be writers and directors and actors, and we can do all kinds of things besides bake cookies and wear an apron. And so I'm using this forum to do that. I'm really looking forward to a lot going on right now. And really what it's coming down to is just, being true to myself and doing these projects and not taking no for an answer. And fortunately, I do have a relationship. And John, you've met John. John's been really supportive, and he's been doing really well, learning the camera, learning the angles, and playing a vampire in a recent movie. So, but that's what we've been up to, and getting into other trouble, but we won't go into that.
And Howard, she even asked about you or what you were doing. So Howard, we're going to come to you in a minute. So Mike, hopefully we got Mike. We didn't lose him. All right, Mike, talk. Tell us who you are. Talk about film school, film critics, and everything like that. Go ahead.
Well, I host a program called Film School Radio. You can go to filmschoolradio.com to find out more about it. Been doing it about 13 years, about 2,200 interviews during that period of time. And I love film. I'm a former projectionist at an art house. It's where I got my cinematic education. We were shown 5 double bills a week. So it was a cram course in the love of film, and been in love with it ever since. So that goes back to the 1980s when I was a projectionist, back when they actually were projectionists around. Mm-hmm. So, and continue to do that. And another show I do is called Weekly Signals. We talk about news and politics and such. And I love being on the radio. I love talking.
So, Susan, before I get to you, my Saskatchewan friend, see, I would have never known about that part of Canada if it weren't for Susan and Paul from Provincial Vodka. All right, so Tosh, let's see what's going on with you. How's your internet?
Yeah, I mean, my internet so far so good. You know, can't complain. You know, it's always iffy, but we are doing fantastic today. We are, you know, we're all blessed and grateful that we're all here. We're all breathing. We're all healthy. And thank you for being on our show. So I'm Natasha Rumbos. I'm a Latin singer-songwriter all the way from Miami. And I've been keeping myself busy the start of first month of January. I'm already in March because my birthday is in March. So I'm already thinking about that. But just been focusing on a lot of collaborations this year with my music. So I've been getting into the studio these past couple of weeks, working with other singers, which has been a bit of a challenge for me because, you know, everybody works different. So, you know, I'm pretty sure when everybody else, you know, collaborates with each other, you kind of have to find the middle ground. So I've been, you know, dabbling into that, and it's exciting. It's exciting how to see other people in their creative space work and, you know, learn from each other. So, yeah, that's what I've been keeping up so I can take some new music out this year for you guys.
And with that, we go to Tennessee. So, Howard, I know you got something from Be Unique. I love what you're wearing today. Talk about what room you are and what you're wearing and what did you get from Be Unique?
I'm actually wearing it today. I'm in the living room, and it's a Dolly Parton coat. Dolly, when she first got started with RCA, gave me her first publicity picture where her hair almost looks like it's in a French twist, and she's got a black turtleneck. So on the back of the coat, that's what I've got on it. So I'm going to an antique show this coming Friday. I'll be posting pictures. So if you go to my Facebook page, I'll be wearing the jacket and you can see the back of it. Or you can go on there now. I do have a little dance routine and you can look at it on my Facebook page. So.
Okay, so now finally we get to Susan. I've been waiting for this show for a long time. And as everybody knows, we're always booked 4 months in advance. No one ever cancels. We're always not overbooked. We have just enough people on, and then kind of some people may fall out at last minute. Tosh, because Tosh does the flyers for us. And then I knew Angela was coming, but I was supposed to be on her show today. She forgot about it, so we rebooked. And then I go, yeah, and I forgot to send her photo to Tosh. So Angela, that was my fault, not hers, because Tosh puts it up, and she's great at doing all this stuff. And Tosh, I was talking about a couple other people at the Grammys about you. So don't be surprised if a couple people call you out of the blue.
Oh,
you'll be pleasantly happy.
I got my phone always ready. I even pick up spam calls. You never know who's calling.
No, you never know. Sometimes the spam is the right call. Sometimes I've had it happen. So with that, now we go to Susan. So Susan, you hypnotherapist, you from Saskatchewan, Canada. I still haven't been there, but I love that because everybody that I met there is a cool person. And, you know, when I was, before I was going in and out of Tennessee, I stayed at Susan's place for a long time. And it's one of those things I never forgot that. So all those people who helped us, we never forget who helped us, huh, Tosh? Huh, Howard? You never forget those people, but you always remember those people who are naysayers too, huh? Right? Yeah. So Susan, all right, you get to tell us who you are, what you're doing, and talk about that great book that I read that I can't stop talking about.
So like Brian said, I am from Saskatchewan, Canada. I had childhood dreams of living in California. I've been living here now for almost 25 years. And, 6 o'clock this morning, I was actually on the beach playing a little beach volleyball. So my love is beach volleyball. I spent over 30 years in medical device sales, mostly in spine implants. And, after a while, I started to realize they really weren't the best thing for the patient. And I was looking for different things to do. I went into, and where I met Brian, I was selling vodka. And for a guy I went to kindergarten with, and that was fun. And but in the meantime, but all that time, I was also training with a lady named Marsha Martin. And what's really interesting about Marsha, she goes so far back in the training and transformational leadership industry. If anybody's ever heard of Warner Earhart and Landmark the Forum, she was, back in the early days, she was a student under Warner Earhart, and she was at one point the VP of Landmark. And she actually branched off. She broke away and helped Tony Robbins initially set up his business. And then she went off on her own, and she's been corporate training for decades. And I trained under her forever, and based on her material, wrote Empowered Communication, C-Suite and Sales Edition. And the reason I wrote it as C-Suite and Sales Edition was because I really wanted to direct it towards the medical device industry, that I really feel, on a corporate empowerment level, they're very successful companies financially, and at the same time, not always the best with respect to corporate culture. And so my book really brings about the communication that not only leads to success in business, but also really empowers people and provides just a phenomenal corporate culture. So that's
and I forgot. Didn't you almost go to not the Olympics? You almost ended up on a team like that for volleyball too, right? Somewhere right there, right?
I have played AVP. And
she's like, Angela, she's like you. She does all of these things. That's why.
I was the worst of the best, or the best of the worst, depending on how you look at it. So I was, bottom of the pro tour, top of the amateur tour.
Sounds convincing to me.
That was a lot of fun. I got to tell you. I mean, it still is. That's why at 6:30 in the morning, I'm playing beach volleyball with my friends, having the time of my life, living out the dream in California.
Wow. Hey, so Angela, talk about this. You went to Palm Springs Film Festival. Did you go this year, or you kind of went and didn't go?
I kind of went and didn't go.
Yeah.
There's, it's changed so much, and what's bad about it, in my opinion, is they've gotten so big that they've forgotten what they started with. And that's just not fun. When I used to cover it, it was easier to get access to the directors, the producers, to be able to interview them. It's gotten incredibly difficult. And they've taken, people who had press passes for years, like myself, and said, "Oh no, now you can't do it. You're not big enough for us." Exactly, it's taken away kind of, for me, the whole purpose of starting it. It started in a living room. Sonny Bono had an idea. It started in a living room, and it grew. And in that regard, I didn't miss not being a part of it, but I miss what it was. Just the way it is. It's just the way it is. They're more caught up in who's going to be there, and who's going to take the picture, and who's going to walk the red carpet, rather than the content. Where they never, you don't hear the buzz about the movie. If it's not like a top Oscar contender, then they don't even want to talk about it. And the whole point, I think, of going to these festivals is to see and hear and learn about movies you may not normally have an opportunity to see or hear about. A foreign film, animation film, documentaries. Everything seems like it was the ugly stepchild, and they dismissed it. So I kind of didn't care that it really wasn't a part of it, and I miss what it was. And frankly, we were so busy doing our projects that it really didn't matter. And then getting up at 6:30 in the morning, I decided to go running. So I tore a ligament in my knee. So I hobbled around for the first week I was there, but we still kept on going. It's a shame. I'm looking forward to, having said that, there are other film festivals that I think are still true to their calling, New Hope Film Festival, a few of the others. And I like to concentrate more on looking at what they're doing and being supportive of them just because I think that they're truer to what a film festival was supposed to be all about. I know I'm sure people will disagree, but
hey, Howard, you'll like this finally. Finally, today, Variety did an interview about Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. Finally. Mike, remember when I was telling you about that?
Yeah,
because Mike was the only one who probably got a link, but he hadn't caught up to it, I think, at that point. And then so it was Barbara Hall, who did the Minnie Pearl documentary and who's doing Brenda Lee. And she did, I think, Ashley Judd or Winona Judd, one of the two. So she's going to resend us a link to all of that stuff for Nashville Public Television for all of that stuff, which is good. And Angela, you're right. I've been telling people this for years, and I tell Tosh and a couple of people this all the time. We make it look easy to the things that we're getting into, but every year they keep changing the criteria and stuff. Here's what they want, which is nonsense. They want you to have 25,000 unique views off of your website. When I always tell them, we did this without a website. We chose to go by the views. Susan, remember when I was in your house sitting in the living room, and I said in 2018, 19, I said, we're going to go by the views, because if the Super Bowl does it, and the World Cup does it, and the Grammys do it, and the Oscars do it, we are going to do it. Today, what was the thing on the Super Bowl? 125 million viewers watched the world's most Super Bowl. They championed that number. So again, it's about the views. So as Tasha's doing her interviews and Howard's starting to do his and Rachel and everybody else, now that's why our numbers are going so quickly. Today's number, and I love this, of what everybody is doing is, it's this. This is our new number today, in case you guys don't know. We went from 25 million yesterday to 27 today because of all of the interviews that everybody's doing. Again, views for movie reviews and more, for everybody keeps going up. So that's why we keep getting invited to everything worldwide. So when it comes to someone like Susan promoting her book, well, not only is she a friend, not only does she have a good book, but Angela, she kind of does like what you guys do. Two women who I really like do everything. Between you two, I don't think there's anything you haven't done except go to the moon.
Yeah. It takes me away from my dogs for too long. I want to say something about views, and this is what bugs me too about some of these things. People go, I've got 50 million views. Okay. And I'm not saying that this is the case here, but then how many minutes watched? Who's actually watching your show? I know a show of where they're like, oh my God, we've got thousands of viewers. I'm like, well, how many minutes are actually watched of the show? And when you look at the analytics, it's like they're watching like 20 seconds. They're clicking through. The quality of the show is not on the number of viewers and the number of Facebook followers. The quality of what a good show is how many minutes were watched. And that's, and this gets lost in, I think, in that jumble where this is where, Brian, I think it hurts people like you and I. Like we can say, hey, I've got, 20,000 views on the show. Okay. And someone else says, I've got 50,000 views, but I'm going to say, hey, on a 28:30 show, I've got my viewers are staying 26 minutes. Look at the quality of what the people are doing, not just the raw numbers. And I don't know how, and how to do that, because it's frustrating, because we bring on great people. You bring on someone like Susan, you bring on someone like Tasha, you bring on people with quality, and you're trying to get them heard above the din. And it's not about viewers, it's about minutes watched and the quality of the show. And I don't know how we can impress that upon people, because I find it frustrating.
I can, that's easy for us to answer because Tosh uploads my shows. So she knows. So Tosh, when you started doing this 4 years ago, what did you notice about the back end of our YouTube channel, which is almost at 2 million views and counting?
Yeah, and the subscribers too have been upping since like the past 4 years. So there are people watching, and they're watching for longer than just like 20 seconds. And it's all, I mean, Brian has been doing this for more than 4 years. Like this is years of like, getting all those shows in. So yeah, there's definitely a graph that you see. And the beautiful thing about YouTube, it like really explains every little thing and like shows you like, what you're doing really good at, and then like what you can improve on, and all the shows that we've done, especially these live shows that go straight to our YouTube. You see like where all the other people from all these different countries like that are zooming in, and it's pretty impressive.
Well, and that's what I tell everybody. You don't have to believe me. Howard, where's Franklin, Tennessee? You live in Brentwood. So go to IT247. You will see 12 million views and counting. We've got 6 shows, and I put them up on our stuff all the time. We've got one show that's at 2.1. We got another one that's at 1.8, Jacqueline thing, which was a Zoom interview, and I hate doing Zoom interviews. We've got another 3 at 1 million plus. Our worst show is at 649,000. I know the numbers off the top of my head, because I write them down every day when I'm adding up my numbers. So it's gotten longer and longer. So when you go to our YouTube or our Facebook channel and you see the content that I'm putting up, look at the views. They're there for everybody to see. I challenge people to add them up, which goes back to Susan's book. And Mike, I'm coming to you in a minute. Susan, talk about these things, because you talk about certain things like this in your book, why it's helpful. Because when it comes to Tosh likes to read books. She would love your book.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought, thank you. Oh, thank you. No, one of the things that really surprised me was when I went into my book stats. First of all, I was really impressed to see that we're not paying for any advertising at all. I was in the top 1/4 of a percentile in communication and social skills on Amazon. And, on the other hand, on Ingram Sparks, where I paid for marketing, I'm seeing, virtually nothing. And that was surprising. And the other thing that surprised me the most was that, I had all these orders from the US and Canada that I anticipated. And then I'm like, oh, Norway. It was the Netherlands. It's like, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because Howard would tell you this too. So again, the way we validate everything is Tasha's in Miami, Florida. Do you not think she doesn't have a following? She's performed in Times Square. She's been at the Latin Grammys. She was at Art Basel in December. She's doing all kinds of things, including her own marketing, her own videos. And I couldn't be proud of her. And she's the youngest out of all of us, but she works it. Where do we always talk about Tennessee? Angela, where are you? Tennessee, So every time we go there now, what happens? Howard usually picks me up. Howard, when we go there, we do some great things, don't we? And Howard's only been with us for what, 1.5 years or 2 years now? That's why he's really included, with all the stuff we're doing now. Right, Tosh?
It's been that long? Oh my God, Howard. Wow.
21.
Time literally flies. I'm already thinking about March. It's like, February, we're still in February,
And so here's the other thing. When you watch Howard dance, Howard, so Susan and Angela, a 9-second clip of Howard dancing, he's got over 13,000 views in a 9-second dance.
Wow.
That's just one. He's got a bunch of them. Go ahead, Rebel.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that's when we met Howard. That's when we met him. So, Mike, when it comes to this, you've been doing stuff a long time, and I put you in the top, probably in the top 7 of people doing stuff. And you mainly do a lot of documentaries, but all those interviews you've done, all those films you've watched, have you ever added up all those films you've watched yet? Because you kind of have an idea, don't you?
Yeah, I do have a fairly good idea. It is, it's about 250 to 300 films a year. So that's, and I know, Brian, from talking to you, that's child's play compared to what you used to consume, or I don't know if you still do, in the amount of films.
Oh, hell yeah, I still do. I got the list right here, right next to me. I don't go anywhere without it cross country, because everything I'm watching, I'm writing down.
Yeah.
Because it's important. Every book, and Susan, your book's upstairs. I forgot to go get it. That's the first time that's ever happened. But it's one of those things I'm always bringing, booked her red carpet. I took it to the Grammys for John Bon Jovi, and I think we have a couple photos we took of it. Susan joined us at the small Los Angeles Jewish Film Festival for a movie called Noble Genius. And Mike, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it was a one night only that Hershey Fielder directed. He started it, directed it, and it's based on Chopin and Lisette. And it's a long movie. The soundtrack, the score is good, but it's a long movie. But it was there. It was raining that night. Susan came up. I didn't know she was going to come up. I'm glad she came up. We did our own little thing, took a couple photos and things like that, and we showed the book. And we may even have a little bit of that. And then Terry came down. Who knew?
Nice.
Hey, so Rebel, I think we have something, but if she pull it up, do that. So Mike, talk about a couple films and what you're talking about now. What have you been watching?
Well, lately it's been a pretty good run of late. There's a film that was shortlisted, didn't make the final for a Best International Feature, which I really like a lot. It's called The Monk and the Gun, and it's the director is Pao Joining Dorji, and he was a finalist a couple of years ago for his film called Yak in the Classroom. I know these are fairly obscure films, but just beautifully done. The kind of movie that just kind of wins you over. And he uses non-professional actors. So I always admire a film director who can pull these kind of performances out of people who are not trained to be actors and just allowing them to be themselves. I really liked Perfect Days, the Wim Wenders film that just was also Best International Feature Film. One of the nice things about the show, and one of the things I'm most proud of, is over the years, I've been sort of evolving into the foreign film realm in a way that I didn't really expect it to happen. And over the last couple of years, I've been focusing on Best International Feature Films, the shortlisted ones and the ones that end up in the final five. And it's been just a real journey for me to see the international film directors who are out there, many of whom I've watched their films before, but there's so many emerging directors in the international realm. If you look at Korea, you look at Finland, South America, this is Mexico. I just saw Totem, beautiful film by Lily. I want to make sure I get her last name correct. Lily Aviles, pardon me. Terrific film. It was Mexico's entry for Best International Feature. Didn't make the final five, but just a lot. It's been great. I would also, one I really want to point out is something called Four Daughters. It was Tunisia's entry for Best International Feature and a documentary finalist as well, or finalist, I believe, and just beautifully done. Again, one of those films. It's a kind of a hybrid. They use professional actors to reenact the story of these two daughters who were essentially became radicalized in Tunisia, and then her two actual daughters interact with them. And over the course of the film, it becomes this beautiful story about people just basically who become more familiar with each other, who enhance the story, the real life story of the two daughters who are radicalized during this period of time in their lives. Just a beautiful film. I really highly recommend Four Daughters if you're looking for something a little bit out of the normal realm of documentary and or narrative film. It's nominated in both an international feature film and a finalist for the best documentary of the year as well. So those are just a couple of films I would point to.
Okay, we're going to come back to this because I'm going to have everybody think of their best romantic film that they can think of, because tomorrow's Valentine's Day, which I don't care about, because I think every day should be Valentine's Day. Every day should be a day of giving and appreciation what people go through, especially those people who have mental health or people who may be homeless, whatever the case may be. And then we're going to take a couple pictures that we may have too. And then Tosh, we're going to talk about the Grammys and music on your side. All right, Rebel, let's take a look. All right, so here's that photo. And I love this book because we did this on our own. See, there wasn't a camera person there, Susan. So if we didn't do this, there would be no validation of this. This is why these things are important. It's called branding. No matter wherever you may be, bring that book. Susan, I'm bringing your book to the LA Art Show. Whatever. When you're not there, I'm going to be walking around with it and taking pictures with the other artists. That's how you get momentum on branding on things like that. Plus, the speaker world loves it. That's one of the things that we do. One of my adult friends, they had their happy birthday. So I went out to Howard and went out to a country bar. Yes, I'm starting to learn line dancing. You will see her on. I'm going to be doing line dancing without the hat. I leave that to Howard. And without the cowboy boots, I leave that to Howard too. But I'm learning. I actually enjoy it.
You gotta do the whole thing. You gotta do the hats and the boot. You gotta do it. The whole thing.
You gotta have the boots and you gotta have the hat.
No, I would have to have Howard there because he would know how to put it on me and all that. I'm clueless when it comes to that.
That cake was amazing, though.
The cake was good. You should have seen what the women did there afterwards, too. That's a whole nother story. So, again, the reason why I put these things up because people don't believe. Yes, today we're at 28,000. And really what it is, it's like a 48-hour period, not 28, because our numbers jump that quickly. So when I'm working a Lineable or YouTube and I'm putting up something of Tosh, if she has something she puts up, I immediately share it. When I take Susan's book, I immediately share it. When I take Howard dancing, I immediately share it. And that's why everything keeps going up, because I'm giving people, the audience around the world, different tastes of things. And like when I'm talking about movies, well, there's movies that they haven't seen yet. So we have to keep talking about it. Huh, Howard, Gloria Leonard. We've been talking about this since October, right? Today, like I said, they started talking about it today. That's how far in advance we are when it comes to all of our stuff. And Susan's not one just to jump in on stuff. She does her homework on things. So when she finally texts me and says, I have a book, and I'm like, what? She's got a book? I was pleasantly surprised. And when I read it, Tosh, I was really, really happy for it because it is a really, really good book. Susan, you got your book in your hand?
You know what? I thought you would, so I left it in the
I got it upstairs. All right, so we were at Music Cares. So I took her book, and I think I got a photo of that there too, because we have random things. But it was one of the things that we took it. So I had to take one with Susan. So it's a lot of work to do all this stuff. Yeah. You know, making sure we got the person's book. Women have a good side. I have to always ask them what the good side is. Tosh, you know what your good side is now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, if you don't ask a woman, they get upset. Oh, we got to take the picture again. Sometimes you don't have time. But
Ryan always goes, where do you want me to stand? Where do you want me to stand? I'll stand wherever.
Exactly, because, you only have so much time to get this done. It's like quick. And Susan was there. There was no camera crew there. There was just us and one other person. So, again, we get a lot of invites, and I'm like, okay, I've been through this before. I know how to do all of this stuff. And Howard, when we're in Women in Film and Television, I go to Tennessee to start setting up all of this stuff. I'm honored to do it because it's helping out women in film and television. But again, we all benefit for this. And if it weren't for Angela and her husband, I wouldn't have never met them. But she did have a bright Tweety Bird yellow jacket on it. And she had these beautiful shoes. And if you don't know him, Tosh, so David Foster, think of Whitney Houston, think of Celine Dion. He's responsible, again, Canadian, for getting Celine's career on. And where was she? She showed up at the Grammys this year. Did you watch the Grammys, Tosh?
Oh yes, I did. I watched the Grammys. That's something that I enjoy. I usually love like the Latin Grammys because I'm in that the Spanish music industry, and I really like watching Latin Grammys. But I feel like the Grammys this year had so much representation of so many different genres, and it was honestly like a pretty amazing Grammy. And I just gotta say that tribute that he did to Tina Turner with Fantasia was just like, I remember seeing Fantasia auditioning in American Idol with the song Proud Mary, and the fact that she was doing the tribute for Tina Turner was just like, it was like, wow, like I kind of like saw myself in her in the near future, and I was like, wow, like how crazy, like you auditioned with this song and now you're doing a tribute for an artist that you auditioned, with. So yeah, no, the Grammys was every time I see an award show, I get super motivated, like even more motivated because I'm usually a very motivated person, but it just it kind of reminds me, this is why you're doing it, like one day to be recognized, not even winning the best Grammy or whatever, but it's just being recognized of your music and your art and what you're feeling. So it definitely motivated me to continue in this journey of being in the music industry, which has been 6 years right now. And honestly, I would not change that for anything. With all the challenges and all the accomplishments, I feel like that's what is helping me build myself as an artist.
And I'm so proud of what you're doing because your work is paying off. So when I run into a David Foster, who that photo was on, He's the person, if you get a chance to Google him, he's done everything. And there's a great documentary on Netflix on him, on David Foster. It's an honor to see him, and I hadn't seen him in like 6 years. And the last time I saw him, Donna Summer was with him. And that was the year that she passed away. So when I'm seeing these friends, I'm seeing these icons, and I'm like thinking, you know what? You got to get a photo. You've got to take a picture with them. You've got to have all of this stuff for branding, because you just never know. Here today, gone tomorrow, which is unfortunate. And then Howard, you would love this, because this is where I was talking about Howard. She's going to be on the show. I forgot what her name is. She writes for the Tennessean. We were standing next to her on the red carpet for the John Bon Jovi. I said, you're from Tennessee. You got to know Howard Wiggins. He's royalty. She goes, I know Howard. I'm like, so again, but it was one of those things. Lainey Wilson. If I hadn't seen Lainey Wilson and Jelly Roll, 2 days prior to that, I wouldn't have had access to all of them. And they were all on the Grammys, and I was glad to see them because they were getting their due of what they're doing. And that made me happy. And that's one of the reasons why I like going to Tennessee. And Angela, you haven't been in Tennessee that long. You originally lived in California.
I lived in California for a while. I mean, I grew up on the East Coast and moved out there, and it's a whole different thing, being out in California. I lived in the Bay Area and then was down in the Palm Springs area. It's a whole different ball game. But I will say, when you travel around and you see different things and you live in different places, everything has its own little quirk and everything has something that makes it unique, but you learn something every time you go. I lived out of the country for a few years. You learn something about it. You come to Tennessee and you learn something different about here. I mean, the Nashville I knew when I was in the music business is not the Nashville that I moved into. It's changed. But you get to learn and you get to see things. But the best part about what all of us do collectively is getting to meet these people. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to sit next to. You never know, who's going to help pick up your papers when they fall on the subway and you look up and it's Daryl Hall. You never know. And this is what makes what we do really interesting and really compelling, because we do get to meet people from every walk of life. We get to meet people who do all kinds of wonderful things, and we get to meet everyday people who are doing extraordinary things and they don't realize it. So, you talk about giving. I mean, giving is also opening your eyes and seeing what's around you, learning from them and imparting something to them. It's just the best thing. It's just the best thing. I think we're fortunate. I think we're fortunate in what we do, that we get to have people touch our lives and touch their lives too. Absolutely. It's really important. And Howard, you're spinning around right now. I was just going to go to you. But instead, see, that's why I do everything off the cuff, because you just never know. And a lot of people can't do this. So remember, I was just talking about, romantic movies. So Dirty Dancing, The Notebook. Anybody remember the movie The Notebook?
That was going to be my choice, Brian. Thanks. Yes, The Notebook. The Notebook. I actually saw this rom-com. It's not like super lovey-dovey, but this rom-com with Glenn Powell and Sydney. I forgot her name, but it was a really funny. It's on Netflix. It's called Anyone But You. It's a really funny movie from the beginning to the end. Like it grasped me. I'm a sucker for rom-com movies. since I took Tosh's one, I was going to say this whole thing. I'm not going to. All right, Tosh, come up with another one. You get a chance to think in like 60 seconds. Angela, pick a romantic movie off the top of your head. I think Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I think it's a true love story. Actually, that's a good one. You're right. That's a good one. I like that. All right, Susan, do you have one? God.
I got two. So number one, I've always loved the movie Love and Basketball. I'm sorry, my taste isn't as refined as yours, but I love. No.
It's on my list. Good for you. What's the other one?
I just watched, and it's a combination of family and romantic. It's got a lot to do with father-son as well as the romance, but Made in Italy. I just watched with Liam Neeson.
Oh yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Liam Neeson. It's not an action movie. It's a different type of movie. It's on Netflix. But I didn't see what. Yep. So again, and Mike will know this. Love and Basketball came out in the year 2000, and I remember that junket because Omar Epps was there on that, and Samahana Lathan was on that. Howard, you have one, a romantic one, because you have some interesting ones.
I like Pretty Woman. It was the first time I ever cried at a movie. I was sick. I don't know what I did, but for some reason, Pretty Woman touched me at the end. So anyway, I like that one. And
go ahead. What's another one?
Probably the Summer of 42. That was I like that. It's a very old one. I happen to know her too, but yes, I like that one too. I'm old school.
All right. And Mike, before we get to you and go back to Tosh, so Howard, tell the audience and tell Susan where you come from, your roots.
I'm Howard Wiggins. I'm son of Little Roy Wiggins, who played steel guitar with Eddie Arnold. They actually started the Opry, All My Christmas Dinners, with Minnie Pearl and Eddie. And I grew up here in Brentwood in a subdivision called Iroquois. And on the street, we had Ralph Emery, Skeeter Davis, Bobby Lloyd, Stu Phillips, the Jim Ed Brown. They were all on the street. So every Saturday, my parents had like a basement that was like a nightclub. So famous people were all the time. And talking of Brenda Lee, my stepfather raised Brenda Lee because her parents had died in a fire, and he raised her from that point on. So.
Okay, Mike, your pick.
Well, this is kind of classic. I'm going to go with Casablanca.
Mm-hmm.
That was number one. Good pick.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah.
It was a top 50 today. That was number one. Susan surprised me with Love and Basketball. That was like number 17. That was pretty good. And your pick, The Notebook. Guess what? Ryan Gosling. That was his first hit. And I remember sitting next to him, interviewing him. Look where he is now. What was the number one film last year that Ryan was in?
Yeah, Barbie.
Look where he is. That's why I always tell people. That's why I always chart our progress for what we're doing, not only for Dream Weaver, but for movie reviews and more, because 6 months from now, by the end of summer, we got 27 movies and counting right now. The goal is to have 40 at the end of the summer. Because remember, by December, we're going to have 102 million views. So do you not think I'm not going to be putting these numbers up in everybody's faces? Because they can't doubt it as long as you put them up. And what did they say in World War II? Smoke them if you got them. So if you got the numbers, just show them, right? All right, Tosh, what's your other one?
A Star is Born. That's a yes.
The new one? The new one or the older one?
Well, there's 4 versions. Pick one.
Well, I'm gonna pick the one with Bradley Cooper. Lady Gaga. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Mike, you gotta. Mike, well, that's good. Go back and see the second one. That was in 1942, I think it is. But Mike, you gotta pick 2 more because you're a film critic. Go ahead.
Oh, got it. 2 more. Wow. This it's a tough genre. I like Punch Drunk Love. Okay. I think that's a pretty good one. I like that one, and I'll go classic here. I'll go Sleepless in Seattle just because. It's kind of, I know it's not really. I have to think about the third one here a little more, but I think Punch Drunk Love, Casablanca. And I'll come up with a third one that's a little better than that. But yeah,
Angela wasn't convinced about that last one.
It's kind of an obvious. I mean, I don't know.
I like Punch Drunk Love. Punch Drunk Love was real, and people who are in that movie totally surprised me.
Totally, yeah. Adam Sandler, who knew? I mean, yeah. I love Emily Watson. I was gonna say Breaking the Waves, but that's such an obscure film that's kind of a love story, but yeah. Kind of.
I know. Well, it's kind of like if you look at Poor Things really is kind of like a love story too. You know? It's an odd love story, but it's still a love story.
There's a lot of those odd kind of films. Another one that just keeps coming back to my brain. I don't know why. Toy Story or Toy Story 2. Mm-hmm. I love 3. Okay, I love animated love stories. The Incredibles. I mean, there's things about that's more of a family love story, but it's still
You're talking to the person who picked Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as a love story. I think it is.
But that's actually a good one, and it's true. So Sleepless in Seattle wasn't on the list, but it should be. And so here's another one. Think about this. So Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
Casablanca was number 1.
Okay.
The Notebook was on it. Pretty Woman. That's Pretty Woman. It's 1990. See how long these things are? The Way We Were. Remember that one? For anybody who's old. 1973. The Bodyguard. That 1992. Officer and Gentleman. Remember that? That's a love story too, right?
Yeah.
And so this one, no one said this, Moonstruck. Remember that one?
Oh God, yes. I love that film. That's a great film. Moonstruck. Oh, absolutely.
And then so
Brian,
you got, yeah.
There's one I have to add. I can't believe I didn't think of it earlier. It's a foreign film. And the original version of it, the very ending, was a reel of black and white, old movie kissing scenes. Cinema Paradiso.
Oh, I love
gosh,
that.
yeah.
That was
that.
probably my favorite movie of all time, ever.
But you know, that was a great movie. But Shall We Dance, the Japanese version,
Oh.
not the remake, not the
Exactly.
remake.
Not
The
the
Japanese
Richard
version.
Gere one. Yeah, exactly.
No.
The original Japanese one.
No. That was a great story too. That was beautifully shot, and you really fell for all of them, you know. And
Here's the last off the list. So Jerry Maguire was one. Roman Holiday, if anybody remembers that. Tosh, when you get a chance, check that one out. I'd like to hear your view in that one. Gone with the Wind, love story. Brokeback Mountain, interesting. I remember doing the interviews for that one. That was a tricky one. A Star Is Born. Yep, Tosh. Titanic.
Oh yeah.
And
wow, I didn't even think about that one.
here's the last
I
one.
love Titanic.
Ghost. Remember Ghost?
Mhm.
That one. All right, we got a couple of minutes left. Susan, give your social media links where people can go see your book and buy it.
So Sue's post on Instagram, SUZPOST, and or Sue's post music reviews. And oh my God, I think Sue's post on Twitter as well.
And also you charted well on Amazon. Talk about that.
Oh yeah, just the book was originally and when you held up my book, the first picture you showed was the original, and then the second picture that you showed from the Jewish Film Festival was the second edition. And the second edition is actually still in process. It's on Amazon, but I haven't really done any marketing on the second edition at all. I'm kind of waiting. I have to get some repairs done on the graphic from the cover. When I printed the initial copies, it wasn't quite perfect. And so I'm getting some adjustments made to the cover.
Angela, last word, what you want to say, and give your social media links.
Angela V. Romeo, that's on Instagram. Angela Valenti. Angela Romeo on YouTube. Facebook, I'm on as Angela Valenti Romeo, and Colliding Worlds Podcast and more. And frankly, if you get an opportunity, please take a look at Always Hear Mother's Love on Amazon Prime. We've got season 1, season 2 is coming, and I'm happy with the writing. Yes, I wrote it. I'm happy with the acting. Yes, I acted in it. And the director is freaking awesome.
And yes, she is. And also support her Facebook, because her Facebook got hacked. That's a whole nother story. But go in. We will talk about that later. But it's one of those things this is why you have to go out and support people. Things happen, especially to a lot of women. When they start climbing up, these trolls, all of a sudden, just want to go in and ruin stuff. All the hard work that they went into doing that.
Before I go, one thing I want to tell you about trolls, one thing I'm finding is I'm back to having again, and I had a stalker who actually put a tracker in my car. I've got another stalker on Facebook, and Tosh and Sue, you have to be super careful because they wheedle their way in, and it's very distressing and very disturbing. I had another one pop up not too long ago in the last week or so. So just be really careful, and they will ruin your sites. They will not only ruin your life, but they'll ruin your sites. So forewarned.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I know I've seen some crazy people following me that I've had to block.
Block them.
See? Howard Wiggins, social media links.
Howard Wiggins Facebook, Howard Wiggins Twitter. That's it. Simple
and Howard Wiggins Instagram too.
Oh yeah.
Mike.
Well, you can go to filmschoolradio.com. That'd be a good place to start. You can also email me at filmschoolradio@earthlink.net. And I am really bad with social media, but I promise you, my promise to all of you and anyone listening is that Instagram and Twitter will be populated with all kinds of great stuff starting very, very soon. So be checking out Film School Radio at twitter.com as well as Instagram. So check it out there. So I'm been terrible about social media. I've gotten religion on it now. So there you go.
That's because he puts everything into his film school and his radio and reviewing all the directors and artists and producers.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why he's the only one that I know that's doing that. And that's why I like Mike, because it's one of those things where he works his ass off by doing all the stuff he does.
Thank you,
And,
man.
and the hard work is there. All right,
Thank
Tosh,
you,
get
man.
the last word. Go for it.
Yeah, so you can follow me at Vocally Tosh on all social media platforms. You can stream all my songs on any streaming platform. I recommend listening to my latest single. It's a fun dembo called Sugar Daddy. It's a really fun video. It's shot in Miami. Take a look at that and get yourself some Tosh Baby merch as well, which is on my website, natasharumbosmusic.com. And we'll see you guys next week, just like Brian says.
And I want to thank everybody for coming on, because it's never easy and you never know. And with technical problems, I think it went pretty good. So I say this: have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. You see someone without a smile like Howard does every week, please give them one of yours, because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more, and we will see you next week.